Now, when I look at the news, there are a lot of real immediate threats.
Counting down UFOs left and right over the weekend.
Russia deploys nuclear-armed ships for the first time in 30 years.
A 150-car train derailed in East Palestine, and when it did, it spewed poisonous chemicals onto the ground and into the surface waters. Now, this was a concern for more than simply East Palestine, given that the Ohio River supplies drinking water to about 1/10 of the entire U.S. population.
This, of course, is by design. This is an ongoing push to keep us focused on the external world, in fear, and preparing for the worst. Yeah, what is the worst? Nuclear war? Now, let's be clear. Nuclear war is insanity. Now, the only idea that's equally insane is thinking we can actually be prepared for any of it. I mean, listen to any combat veteran, the one constant. Your best laid plans go out the window as soon as the fighting starts. In fact, it's a real dream when all goes according to plan.
I never should have doubted you, boy! There's a plan in everything, kid. And I love it when a plan comes together.
Even so, I take comfort in feeling like I can hide out from the Matrix and all the chaos in this tiny camper. And although there's a certain appeal to inverting away from it all, it's really out here where connections are made to nature and clues revealed in interactions with other people. Maybe we can't hide from the Matrix, but can we escape it? What if we didn't need to do either? What if the real secret is beyond the red pill, blue pill choice?
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
What if this larger context follows set patterns that influence all of our choices so they aren't choices after all? Is there actually a chance to co-create what happens next?
By adopting this mindset that the end result is already secure, then the methods I employ to find these things are no longer guided by me, which has limitations, but guided by intuition and imagination. And these are empowered by the oversoul. So when we adopt this idea as a guiding principle that the end is secure, then we can know for certain that all steps leading up to this final result are secure as well.
Now, some like my pastor are all about knowing the self and getting clean of the programming before we take any steps towards solutions.
A new system will never work in a state of immorality. A new system will never work in a state of complete mental and spiritual dysfunction. You got to build up your fitness level first. Yeah. In every aspect of the being. Yeah. Then something that you create can work. You can't try to create the new system while you have all of this psychic and spiritual dysfunction.
Yet at the same time, he makes no bones about the state of the world. How all the controlling interests are so focused individually and collectively on their objectives, they laugh at the mass of unfocused people fighting with each other. So collectively unaware of any war that's going on that it's impossible to be a threat to their collective interests. Now, of course, this is where things get especially interesting. On the one hand, there's a chance to co-create forward in a way that essentially makes the chaos and evil objectives obsolete. And on the other hand, the power of those who keep us controlled seems unlimited and not changing anytime soon. Now, is this a Jason Breshears versus Mark Passio moment? That's something you'll have to answer for yourself. I can say that during 2020 and 2021, despite the travel restrictions, I went across the country both times to multiple places with my camper without a problem. Now, of course, there were potential moments when it looked like I wouldn't be able to travel, but in the end, I traveled as if there were no restrictions at all. Now, could this be an example of being outside the matrix of control without having to fully escape it? I don't know, but there are other situations that people find themselves in that don't follow the usual patterns, and these may provide some level of proof. You know, at the same time, there might be something outside of logic here. You can also get to a place where you're no longer enslaved, but others need for proof. You know, this is kind of like when you become so comfortable with being an introvert, you don't need to prove your worth by attending parties you don't want to be at. Instead, you're living outside of the usual constraints. And this is basically like living the matrix, you're not being controlled by it. It could be the matrix works like a Chinese finger trap, in that the harder you try to escape from it, the tighter the trap. And yet, with one small twist, there's no trap at all. In truth, of course, we're all walking our own path. The hubris of thinking, you know, when there's so much you don't know, you don't know. Well, let's just say that can be a trap also. For me, there is a co-creative field we all tap into. This could be a reason why there have been people across a pre-internet globe with no prior contact with each other applying for a patent of the same idea at about the same time. artists, writers, and so on. They get their ideas from that field. And many have talked about how that is so, that they didn't write, they were more a conduit for the ideas. Now, when we do tap into the field of collective consciousness, I think also when we come into our full potential individuality, we help the rest on a collective level. I think the trick is to be selfish enough that you take the time to listen deeply, to know yourself, separate from all the noise on the outside. Now, when you do this, the distractions are a lot more obvious and really kind of somewhat comical in terms of being well over the top, especially recently. Now, this really is a spiritual battle. Consider, though, that the real battle may be won by basically finding the truth of our essential being inside of each of us, and then allowing that truth to connect all of us. If you found this video helpful, share with someone who you think might be inspired by it. Let's collectively get together and see what happens. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.